President Buhari received status report on political situation in Mali in joint efforts to restore stability in the troubled ECOWAS region.
Is the need for us to reflect on the processes that led to Africa's heavy indebtedness in the first place.
Speaker, House of Representatives galvanized support of African parliaments in local and global calls for continent's debt cancellation.
Strict adherence and implementation of the Geneva Conventions by all parties to a conflict in the region will greatly reduce the attack on aid workers and improve access to humanitarian assistance.
Development experts advocate more protection for aid workers ahead of World Humanitarian Day.
We have indeed studied the report, and I can tell you that it is nothing short of phenomenal.
Plus, committee to design relief for creative industry inaugurated. Good evening. It's nice to have you join us on the news tonight. I'm Ian John. With me are Dotun Ogiemi in Lagos and Dibabari Sieduma Mweke in Port Harcourt. Welcome. We start with development in the West African sub-region as President Muhammadu Buhari today received an audience from President Goodluck Jonathan in furtherance of sustaining efforts to find lasting solutions to the political crisis rocking the Republic of Mali. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that Dr. Jonathan is the ECOWAS Special Envoy and head of mediation mission to the West African nation.
This is the second time in 1 month President Muhammadu Buhari is formally engaging his immediate predecessor, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, on the political situation in Mali. The meeting is described as corollary to efforts by ECOWAS leaders towards restoring stability to the West African nation. President Muhammadu Buhari and 4 other ECOWAS leaders had visited Bamako, Mali last month, followed by a virtual extraordinary meeting of the sub-regional body, which came up with far-reaching measures aimed at normalizing the situation for sustainable democracy and development. Former President Jonathan, who was in Mali last week, recounted to President Muhammadu Buhari his meetings with the stakeholders and other important personalities critical to peace and cohesion in the country, amongst them political and religious leaders, as well as ambassadors of the United States, France, Russia, Germany, and the European Union. The main opposition group, M5, he however said, continued to insist on the resignation of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, a position that will not be acceptable by either ECOWAS or any international organization, including the African Union and the United Nations. Former President Jonathan, however, said the Constitutional Court had been reconstituted and inaugurated while vacancies in the Supreme Court had been filled, thus sorting out the judicial arm of government. President Muhammadu Buhari thanked Dr. Goodluck Jonathan for his efforts, especially the stamina he displayed on the Mali issue, but cancelled further consultations with the ECOWAS chairman, President Muhammadu Isufu of the Republic of Niger. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In the meantime, reports coming in from Mali indicate that the president of Mali, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, has been arrested by mutinying soldiers. Reports say Prime Minister Bouba Sese has also been arrested, despite earlier appeals for dialogue. The chairman of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mohamed, said in a tweet that emphatically condemns the arrests of President Keïta and his Prime Minister. And back home, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has formally briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on improved security situation in the home of solid minerals, which he attributed to prompt response and intervention by the federal government. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again reports.
Security for us in Nasarawa State is very, very important, and it's job one, if you want to put it as part of safety, because we are attracting a lot of investments, and those investments will materialize only when we have security.
And this informed the governor's invitation to the State House towards charting the best way forward with President Muhammadu Buhari. Apart from kidnapping and armed robbery, Nasarawa State is also confronted by bandits and other criminal elements dislodged from the northeast and northwest Nigeria, now finding comfort in the rocky areas of the state to carry out their nefarious activities. Governor Sule, however, said with the effective collaboration and cooperation between the state and the federal government, the security situation in the state has improved significantly.
I had to express great appreciation to Mr. President, one, for accepting to set up the third military mobile police training college in Nasarawa State. And it is set up actually at a place that has a lot of jungles and used by kidnappers and armed robbers in the past. So it was very successful. The project has been completed. We commissioned it last week and everything went very well. Also to express our appreciation to Mr. President for the military super camps that he agreed to set up in Nasarawa. Both of them have been established. Also for the Air Force Special Forces in Lafia, as well as the military special forces in Doma.
Issues relating to the first election to be conducted by INEC amidst the coronavirus pandemic in Nasarawa State was also discussed at the meeting.
I'm happy to inform you that we had a very, very peaceful by-election in Nasarawa Central, and I'm also happier to tell you that apart from being very peaceful, APC won the election. So I needed to brief Mr. President about the election, how it went.
President Muhammadu Buhari expressed satisfaction with the successful conduct of the election and urged the nation's electoral umpire and other stakeholders to ensure that the same is replicated in the forthcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And still on security, troops of Operation Well Punch has eliminated several bandits in an encounter at Tashankari in Niger State. The coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, in a statement said the success was in continuation of aggressive clearance operation to rid the north central of criminal elements as the troops acted on credible intelligence on the activities of bandits' attack. Major General Eneche notes that sadly, troops suffered 3 casualties while 2 others were wounded in action. And heading to the National Assembly now, the Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajagbeamila, has made a case for African parliaments to urgently join local and global efforts to push for the cancellation of the external debt owed by various countries on the continent. The Speaker made a call during an online meeting with speakers of some African parliaments on debt cancellation for the continent from multilateral and bilateral partners. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idekwefo reports.
The International Monetary Fund, IMF, in its publication of December 2019, warned that Africa's debt was on the rise and could create economic challenges for countries, especially with China handing about $143 billion as loan to the continent between 2000 and 2017. The burden to offset this debt has stunted development across the continent, and now it is compounded by the socio-political and economic consequences of the outbreak of the coronavirus. Speaker Femi Gbajagbeamila says now is the time to close ranks with other tiers of government in the best interest of Africans.
Furthermore, is the need for us to reflect on 1. the processes that led to Africa's heavy indebtedness in the first place. 2, the role parliamentarians can play to address this going forward. And 3, what assurances we as parliamentarians can give our borrowers that if our debt is cancelled, the freed up resources will be invested in social and economic development of our citizens.
Let's push forward and let's campaign to get debt cancellation for African nations.
All donors are very much interested in accountability issues related to manage the release.
The meeting resolved to set up the Conference of African Speakers and Heads of Parliament, COSAP, a body that will facilitate increased collaboration between speakers, heads of parliament, and national assemblies across the continent. Nigeria is nominated to host the maiden edition of COSAP, chaired by Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, and is expected to meet again in the first week of September to approve the plans and swing into action preparatory to its 2021 maiden conference. Vivian Idekbefo, NTA News.
And in court, 6 different companies and a director with the Process and Industrial Development Limited have been arraigned before a federal high court, Abuja, for their roles in the $9.6 billion gas processing contract scam. Olabode Arewa reports that the companies are facing charges of bribery and money laundering.
Logi Consols Limited, Christom Niger Limited, Mashpeo Niger Limited, Babcock Electrical Projects, LIR Resources Limited, and Eco-Phoenix Niger Limited were arraigned along with a British citizen, James Nolan, for alleged money laundering, being lodgements into their bank accounts. Prosecution counsel Balasanga told the court that this was to facilitate the award of the $9.6 billion contract to process and industrial developments in violation of the Money Laundering Act. The second defendant, James Nolan, pleaded not guilty to the charges. His defense counsel, Paul Irokoro, SCN, urged the court to grant his client bail on the same conditions as the Court of Appeal, Abuja, in a similar matter.
Bail conditions given by the court must be applied strictly, and in this case, all that the court required the EFCC to do was to confirm that the residence of the surety is in the Federal Capital Territory.
James Nolan, along with Michael Quinn, Adam Quinn, and Neil Hitchcock, were also implicated for their roles in the financial scam. The 3 other suspects, who are British citizens, are still at large.
Before the commencement of trial proper, we intend to file an application for a warrant of the arrest. And once the court gives us that warrant for arrest, we would flip it through the Interpol process so that they are also arrested.
The matter has been adjourned to the 5th of October for commencement of trial. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Ahead of World Humanitarian Day, the humanitarian community in Niger is calling on the international community to dedicate more resources in protection of lives of humanitarian workers in the Northeast. This is part of concerns aimed at improving service to humanity amid violence and coronavirus pandemic. Benny Adams has this and more from an interaction with the community in Abuja.
Few weeks ago in Maiduguri, 5 humanitarian workers from State Emergency Management Agency as well as 3 international aid organizations were abducted and killed by unknown armed groups. This number is part of 1,009 attacks against health workers and facilities last year, resulting in 199 deaths and 628 injuries. A situation the World Health Organization describes as worst ever to be meted on a people seen as real-life heroes, committed to putting others' lives ahead of theirs amid violence. This in addition to frontline workers in the fight against COVID-19.
Strict adherence and implementation of the Geneva Conventions by all parties to a conflict in the region will greatly reduce the attack on aid workers and improve access to humanitarian assistance.
Within both the NGO community as well as within the United Nations, there are a series of risk mitigation measures that we put in place.
For the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, the celebration is twofold, as her call to minister as a humanitarian worker is a year old.
We are also working on a policy framework that will outline or address all these issues of humanitarian workers, their safety and their protection.
Participants at this roundtable did not stop at eulogies, but made commitments to safety of aid workers, resettling and reintegration of internally displaced persons in safety and dignity, in addition to a minute's silence in honor of those who had to pay the supreme price for their love for humanity. With this year's theme, Real-life heroes. The World Humanitarian Day is celebrated every 19th of August. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
In other news, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has inaugurated a 5-man implementation committee post-COVID-19 for the creative industry. Anthony Forson brings us details.
The 5-man committee has the Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture, Otumba Olusegun, as chairman. Their terms of reference include designing an implementation plan on immediate and short-term relief for the creative industry in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, design a policy framework for tax relief for various sectors in the industry, as well as work out a long-term intervention for the overall development. Inaugurating the committee, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said the report, which they are about to come up with its implementation modalities, is a comprehensive document.
We have indeed studied the report, and I can tell you that it is nothing short of phenomenal. The committee went beyond the call of duty to do a thorough forensic audit of the creative industry, like it has never been done before.
He was quick to oblige the committee an extension beyond the 6 weeks time frame.
I have no doubt that this implementation committee will approach its assignment with a great sense of duty, realizing that the development and growth of the creative industry, which is the second biggest job creator after agriculture, rests on their shoulders.
Chairman of the committee, Otumba Olusegun, while commending the minister for recognizing the sector in the COVID-19 era.
And for us as a nation, the Honorable Minister has woken up the consciousness in us to see what this sector can contribute. And I can also say it here, that this champion and boosts the wealth of every individual in a nation like ours.
The creative industry in Nigeria has the capacity to contribute immensely to the nation's GDP if properly harnessed. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Improving infrastructure in universities. Details in the second part of tonight's news. This day. Thank you for staying. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating non-implementation of pay-as-you-go tariff plan and price increase by satellite broadcast operators has asked the management of StarTimes Television to consider a downward review of its tariff within 2 weeks to reduce the burden on Nigerians occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic. Chairman of the committee, Onyime Idem, said this when he met the Chief Executive Officer of StarTimes Television, David Zhang, on the hike in tariff. John Yaku has details.
The committee, while thanking StarTimes Television for implementing the pay-as-you-go plan, frowned at the hike in tariffs, describing it as untimely and insensitive to the current hardship occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. StarTimes, however, says, being sensitive to the prevailing situation in the country, it only repriced some of its bouquet to remain in business to serve the country. It further explained that increase in VAT, high cost of foreign exchange for procurement of equipment, and cost of power generation necessitated the repricing. StarTimes, however, promised to review, but appealed for palliatives to the subsector.
I understand this year is a very special, particular period around the coronavirus. We understand Nigerians that's very difficult.
If we had a choice, we will not do it because it's like going against what we are preaching, that we want these services to be available to everybody, no matter how poor they are.
We secure equipment, purchase equipment. Most of them they are not manufactured in Nigeria. They are for abroad.
With this, the committee says StarTimes has proven that pay-as-you-go tariff is implementable in Nigeria.
So many companies are saying that pay-as-you-go is not achievable in this country, but I think StarTimes has already taken a bold step to achieve that.
Meanwhile, MultiChoice has rescheduled Tuesday, 25th August 2020 for its meeting with the committee on non-implementation of pay-as-you-go tariff plan and price increase. John Yaku, NTA News.
Beyond widespread public perception that the Presidential Special Public Works Program is transient, the National Directorate of Employment, in an interface with some leaders of the APC Northwest Zone, has given context to the far-reaching benefits of the scheme. NTA Fineface reports that mitigating rural-urban migration in a sustainable manner is one of the 7 objectives behind the initiative.
When members and leaders of the All Progressives Congress APC converge, politics and leadership are likely items on the menu. But this visit of the zonal management of the APC Northwest to the National Directorate of Employment is for other serious business, politics aside. It's a form of campaign, not for votes, but jobs.
The government cannot accommodate everybody when it comes to issue of employment. But this administration has initiated a lot of projects of employment empowerment opportunities.
Equipped with presidential vision, backing and required funds, the NDE is already on course.
One of the promises made to Nigerians youth by Mr. President is to provide employment.
For the Director General, it is time to unravel the 7-pronged objectives of the Special Public Works Program, which include increased funds to drive microeconomy, community supervision of government physical assets, and transmutation of beneficiaries to agricultural extension workers.
Wherever these young men and women are engaged, we send our team to preach, to talk to them on the importance of managing their meager resources so that they can move forward in their various businesses. If you're a farmer, by the time you have 60,000 naira, you can use part of it to buy water pumping machine so that you can move forward.
Preparations are on course to commence the program in October this year. NTA Fineface, NTA News.
Nigerian universities are fronting for public-private partnership in improving infrastructure in universities across the country. Committee of Vice-Chancellors met with Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, on how to drive the implementation. Joshua Ojito reports.
With 174 universities in Nigeria contributing to the educational development of the country, the decay in infrastructure in some of these universities attracts attention of Committee of Vice-Chancellors. While acknowledging government investment in fixing the infrastructure, partnership with private sector, the Committee of Vice-Chancellors says will improve infrastructure in universities, thereby providing conducive environment for learning. This engagement between the committee and Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is to fashion ways of wooing investors.
Universities are looking for public-private partnerships using blended forms of financing to be able to meet some of the challenges that they have. We have fundamental funding challenges in many of the universities at federal and state levels and even at private levels. So these PPPs we are talking about, what is the plan? Why can we not have a plan? Let us even start just with hostels.
Proper planning for public-private partnership and academic stability in universities are said to be key in attracting investment in the education sector. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
And in Ilorin, Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak has promised to rebuild the offices razed during the recent fire incident at the Fatih production station of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Ilorin. The governor made a promise when the Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, visited him in his office. Kende Omolusho reports that the DG also paid a courtesy call on the Emir of Ilorin, Alhaji Ibrahim Sulu Gambari.
Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak is appreciative of NTA Ilorin's social responsibility to the people of the state and wants the station to continue with its quality and educative programs. His appeal is that the DG help resuscitate NTA Patigi so that the people of the state from the area will enjoy its educative programs. Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, appreciated the governor for his concern when a part of NTA Ilorin was gutted by fire on July 22nd, as it was one of the first earliest callers at the station when the incident occurred at midnight. His promise is that the station will work more to propagate the good works of the governor. Emir of Ilorin, Alhaji Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, who was touched by the incident, prayed such occurrence would not repeat itself in the station again. Congratulating the Emir on the appointment of Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Agbola Gambari, Director General NTA sees the appointment as one well-deserved. He is appreciative of the Emir's support to the station and wants him to continue in doing that. The DG had earlier inspected the offices affected by the fire, where he commiserated with the management and staff with an announcement that some equipment had been procured to help lift the station up. He told his staff to see the fire incident as a challenge and not a setback. His challenge to them is to be more committed to duty, as the top management will not rest on his laurels at ensuring that their welfare is taken care of.
I've assessed the extent of damage, and inshallah we are going to do everything we can to ensure that NTA Lorraine's operations are not dismally affected by the fire incident.
Equipment worth millions of naira and valuable documents were destroyed by the unfortunate fire. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
Now talking about the pandemic, Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, has urged states where elections would hold and political parties to join in sensitizing Nigerians on the danger of COVID-19 by inculcating risk communication in their campaigns, especially in rural communities. The SGF stated this shortly after receiving the Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, in Abuja.
My message to them is to follow the Nasarawa model, which has worked very well. As a matter of fact, the elections in Nasarawa came and went without any issues of non-compliance. They did their best. It was a limited election. It was a House of Assembly election. But I think by and large, we use this opportunity too to really commend the Governor of Nasarawa State.
Mostly within Nasarawa, people actually gave the social distancing during voting, and they were wearing their masks, and they washed their hands. We had sanitizers, and everything went well.
The Nasarawa governor enjoined Nigerians to support the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 by adhering to all safety guidelines. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization urges countries to join multilateral COVID-19 vaccine efforts as South Africa eases coronavirus restrictions. Joyce Ometu has a global update on the pandemic.
The World Health Organization has warned that COVID-19 is now being spread mainly by young people who may be unaware that they are infected, thereby transmitting the virus to more vulnerable groups. The agency on Tuesday sent a letter to every country asking them to join multilateral vaccine efforts, as some countries are putting their own interests ahead of others in trying to secure supplies of a possible vaccine. Meanwhile, statistics by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. local time show that cases now stand at 22,122,436, out of which 14,854,808 have recovered, while 778,921 deaths have been registered. In Nigeria, statistics by the Center for Disease Control and CDC indicates that the country is nearing 50,000 cases of coronavirus, recording 49,485 cases. There have been 36,834 recoveries and 977 deaths. South Africa, which had one of the world's strictest anti-coronavirus lockdowns for 5 months, relaxed its restrictions on Tuesday in response to a decrease in new cases. The country relaxed its regulations to permit the reopening of bars, restaurants, gyms, and places of worship, all limited to not more than 50 persons. The African continent has 1,132,915 cases, 25,952 deaths, and 850,553 recoveries. Elsewhere, South Korea, which has won praise for its handling of COVID-19, is tightening social distancing measures after a spike in cases. In a press briefing, the country's Deputy Health Minister Kim Ganglip said this week will be a crucial juncture for the country's fight against the virus, as clusters of infections in the capital are on the brink of spreading nationwide. And that's a global update on COVID-19. I am Joyce Ometu.
Many thanks, Joyce. And still talking health, the federal government is stepping up investment in modern diagnostic facilities at federal medical centers across the country to enable them effectively perform their complementary roles to teaching hospitals. At the presentation of appointment letters to new chief executives of the 4 federal medical centers in Abuja, the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Olorinimbe Mamora, expressed optimism about the capacity of the new HEMS-men to deliver on the expectations of government. Kelvin Evonwaye reports.
The burden of healthcare delivery on the shoulders of the nation's teaching hospitals is huge. That responsibility is even now being compounded with the battle to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic. So, the federal medical centers must step up to take up some of the responsibilities. But they can only do that effectively with adequate facilities, especially diagnostic laboratories.
We want to ensure that they are well equipped. You see, because in patient management, I've always argued that for me, the most important aspect of patient management is diagnosis. Our federal medical centers, they are doing their best. And of course, don't forget, just a few weeks back, the FMC Kefi separated conjoined twins.
The new medical directors are Dr. Aisha Shewadamu, FMC Jalingo, Dr. Basi Edet, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Calabar, Dr. Agbalo Akani, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Aro Abeokuta, and Professor Babantude Salapo, Director General, Nigerian Institute for Medical Research, Yaba, Lagos. They are to serve for 4 years in the first instance. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
And on the economy, the Buhari Media Organization has acknowledged the series of positive steps taken by President Muhammadu Buhari in recent weeks through the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to stem the negative impact of COVID-19 on local businesses. In a statement, the organization says the moves targeted at making life easier for Nigerians during the pandemic will prepare citizens for economic boom post-COVID-19 and cites the economic stimulus package of 3.5 trillion naira, which government plans to disburse through the CBN as part of efforts to provide what it calls low-cost liquidity to businesses and households as the economy gradually reopens, among other projects that cut across sectors of the economy. All the intervention, the statement says, were given to a concessionary interest rate of 5% with a view to arresting the negative impact of COVID-19, including job losses and other losses that businesses may have incurred due to the lockdown. We'll take a pause here for Dotun to bring us the next set of reports from Lagos. Dotun, it's over to you.
Thank you, ERA. Achieving proper food security, safety and sufficiency in Nigeria require the use of modern scientific techniques, including genetic engineering, to improve plants, animals and microorganisms for human consumption. Environment experts outlined these at an open forum on the role of editors in communicating biotechnology in Nigeria, which held in Lagos.
Nigeria is a country with more than 200 million people with daily food demands. Available literature, however, reveals that while the population is growing at a geometric rate, food production is growing at arithmetic rate. Therefore, the need for adequate and systematic approach towards bridging the food supply gap is essential. To this end, policies and programs that will mitigate the effect of climate change on agriculture, as well as encourage food safety and mass production to match the growing population, is recommended.
We have a lot of research institutes across the country. We have people who are working, and the products, we're supposed to enjoy those products to a large extent.
This forum seeks to address challenges associated with climate change and proffer solutions in the agricultural sector and food processing in the country.
All Nigeria has responsibility to make sure that any genetically modified organism, before it is released, either for commercial purpose or into the environment for planting, risk assessment is carried out, and we also ensure that these processes go through due diligence and the products are safe to the environment.
Climate change is the utmost ecological menace that harmfully affects the yield of crops and animals. The primary causes of climate change is the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, resulting to increased greenhouse effects. However, experts advise Nigerians to embrace the use of genetic modification technology to mitigate the effects of climate change for enhanced agricultural productivity in the country. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakpoya, NTA News.
Targeting and empowering a total of 1,000 Nigerians and making them instant millionaires is what the fastest growing conglomerate in West Africa, Dangote Group, aims to achieve through its Spell and Win promo. Adeola Komiakere reports that another set of 9 new millionaires have emerged in Lagos.
Ayodele Benjamin, Sumonu Akim Ayinde, Toborobeke Nelson, Uti Ability Sunday, Adufe Adetunji, Eromidayo Abai, Aziz Yusuf Olatunji, Abiodun Adebisi, and Michael Chuku are the 9 who were made overnight millionaires courtesy Dangote Spell and Win promo. They were all ecstatic when they got the 1 million naira alert on their phones.
All this why I'm not able to receive anything like this from Dangote, but this is an encouragement for me and for others.
Part of this money will go for charity.
This is the first time I'm experiencing this kind of thing.
Shafaru Lekon was another lucky winner in the Dangote cement bag of goodies too. The leading cement producer in West Africa is not only engaged in production of cement and other consumables. It aims to impact lives positively and improve the standard of living of customers.
They are the ones that are making us bigger and bigger by day. We have been able to carefully select the prices that can actually impact on the means of livelihood of people.
In case you have lost, you have made some losses during the pandemic and also during the lockdown, this is a significant opportunity for you to come back to your business.
And it's been a good thing for Lagos and even for our own sales, because everybody now is rushing for Dangote cement.
65 millionaires have so far emerged in the promo. Customers of Dangote Group Spell and Win promo can redeem their prizes at the company's depots and over 200 redemption centers across the country. The promo, which began on the 15th of July, will end on the 15th of November 2020. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
Let's now take another break. Network News will continue in Abuja in a short while.
Welcome back. Markets in Port Harcourt reopen after months of shutdown. Details with Dibabari in Port Harcourt. Hello, Dibabari.
And welcome to Port Harcourt. Traders in major markets in Port Harcourt are returning to their businesses following the reopening of markets by the state government in the wake of COVID-19 lockdown. King's Lemons reports that traders are responding to the new development with mixed feelings amidst concerns of expired products and shop rent.
All markets must function in strict compliance with established COVID-19 protocols and guidelines.
For residents, their joy knew no bounds following a state broadcast by Governor Nyesom Wike on the reopening of some major markets in the state. The early hours of the first day of the market reopening was devoted to cleaning of the market at Mile 1 and Mile 3 markets. Mrs. Ezioma Umezike, like other traders in the market visited, were full of joy that the government finally heeded their appeal.
When I heard the news last night, I was so excited. We like what he has done to open this market for us.
For Gaga and others, the reopening of the market comes with another hard time for them.
This one have expired. All. I have over 200 cartons inside the shop.
I enter inside the market, I'm crying. My market has spoiled.
Imagine like me when the shop trucks come in a day. I'm always for one. It's at the shop 010 per day. See me not beside before.
Going by the directive of the state government, churches are now to operate at 50% capacity, with markets expected to comply with the COVID-19 protocols. This is just as the state government directed local government council chairmen to enforce strict compliance in all the markets. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
The need for the people to know their rights and roles in sustaining democracy, good governance and accountability from public institutions came to the fore at a two-day training workshop in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Wisdom Jacob reports that the forum was at the instance of the United Nations Democracy Fund in collaboration with Women United for Economic Development.
It is believed that having civic knowledge will help citizens understand the workings of the political system, their own political and civic rights, as well as responsibilities. And this implies that citizens actively participate in the public life of a community in an informed, committed, and constructive manner for the common good of everyone. This is why this workshop on strengthening good governance and democratic processes at local level in Nigeria is organized for people in Akwa Ibom and Rivers States.
With this training now, I'll be going back more equipped to tell my fellow citizens in the local government.
We have been taught ways on how we can engage our stakeholders. Those trainings on civic education and democratic processes, which will help them train their local citizens as well to know their civic rights and how they can follow up with the government.
The workshop is canvassing for governments and its institutions to perform their roles and citizens to be vigilant. In Uyo, Wisdom Jacob, NTA News.
And that does it from Port Harcourt. It's back to Ire in Abuja for the rest of the news. Good evening.
Thank you, Dibabari. Now, talking politics, the presidency has described as an ingenious patchwork of mischief, a trending video clip claiming that the Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and Chief Adams Oshomole, the former All Progressives Congress APC chairman, had hatched a plan to arrest opposition individuals ahead of the September election in Edo State. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, in a statement says the video was extracted from an innocent conversation focused on the emerging incidents of violence in the run-up to the election. The statement equally notes the fact that various political parties campaigning in Edo had leveled accusations of violence against one another, and in such a heightened state of uncertainty, responsible leadership must ensure that elections are conducted in a peaceful manner and judiciously use the law enforcement to protect lives and property of citizens to prevent criminal elements from subverting the democratic process, as election must reflect the will of the people, as the president consistently says. And away from politics, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Diaspora Summit Initiative to promote Nigeria's economy through direct investments by Nigerians in the diaspora. Omenka Amarachuku reports.
The signature endorsed on the agreement document have become seal for legitimate business and other future collaborations between the two institutions. Strategy for the mobilization of funds and other resources for investments, especially in human capacity and infrastructure development, are critical in the MOU.
This is a partnership between government and the private sector. But I know that with the dedication, with the commitment, with the support we've all been receiving, and the partnership amongst us all, we're starting something that may be a revolution in the business world.
So we feel as private sectors and actually as diaspora Nigerians who really want to see the improvement in the socio-economic nature of the country and the lives of most especially the impoverished, how can we impact them? How can we harness these remittances so that they can go into something that's sustainable?
Both institutions agreed to look out for reputable individuals and organizations abroad for direct foreign investment in the country. In Abuja, Omenka Amarachuku, NTA News.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has become an Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative EITI partner company, joining the group of over 65 extractive companies. A statement by Group General Manager, Public Affairs Division, NNPC, Dr. Kenny Abatero, says the new status would require that the NNPC publicly declare support for the EITI principles by promoting transparency throughout the extractive industries and provide opportunities for sustainable development. The statement adds that the EITI Board Chair, Right Honourable Helen Clark, welcomed the company's commitment to the EITI, stressing that NNPC plays a vital role in Nigeria's economy. And Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning and former EITI board member Zainab Ahmed stressed the importance of ensuring that natural resource wealth contributes to sustainable development. Meanwhile, the Group Managing Director, NNPC, Malik Kyari, affirmed his company's commitment to the EITI, reiterating that becoming an EITI supporting company aligns with NNPC's corporate vision and principles of transparency, accountability and performance excellence. A civil society organization with the name Vanguard for the Protection of Rights of Citizens in Nigeria wants the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to be reverted to the direct control of the presidency. The group staged a peaceful protest at the entrance of the National Assembly to drive home its demand. Kenneth Nani reports.
It is not unusual to see this kind of crowd or group of people besieging the entrance of the National Assembly in support of one good cause or in protest against any perceived injustice. For this group, they believe the National Assembly is the nucleus of democracy and their demand will receive the required attention, of which they have also inscripted on the lines in their placards.
The group, in its demands, believe that the return of the commission to the presidency will curb corruption in the system and bring about desired development in the region, while culprits are brought to justice.
The monies that are being sent, into the pipe of the Niger Delta is so bogus that we cannot, keep looking while this money is going down the drain. That's what we're asking the federal government to revert it back. It was better then than what we're seeing today. We're not saying no, just return it to the presidency and that's all. Whoever that solely is in corruption should be dealt with appropriately and accordingly.
The human rights group is also supporting the probe of the commission by the National Assembly and says it has submitted its letter of demand to President Muhammadu Buhari through the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
And now a bit of sports. PSG has qualified for the 2020 Champions League going on in Lisbon, Portugal. The team defeated RB Leipzig by 3-0. The remains of late media icon Wada Maida has been laid to rest at the Gudu Cemetery, Abuja, after the Islamic burial rite was performed. Abdullahi Ajiya reports that family members, friends and associates attended the funeral where the deceased's legacies of patriotism and professionalism were extolled.
Across all backgrounds, troop into the Maitama residence of late Wada Maida to share in the moment of grief with the family. A time when man as a mere mortal is humbled, as the Quran stated that every life must taste death. The body of the late media icon left his residence for his final resting place, with a janaiza prayer at the Shagari Jumat Mosque Area 1 commencing the ritual, where an uncontrollable multitude of crowd came to pay their last respect to a man they described as a complete personality and a selfless leader who has contributed hugely to the pen profession.
Allahu Akbar.
He had a legacy of services that he has rendered to his motherland, Nigeria. May his soul rest in peace.
He will be remembered by, first of all, his friends, because he has been a very great and true friend to so many people.
He was a gentleman. He was a careful man. He was someone that had focus in life.
It's a huge loss to the media in the country. It's a huge loss to the nation.
Thereafter, the body was laid to rest with much prayers to Allah to forgive the deceased and grant him Al-Jannah Firdaus.
He was one of the people many of us looked up to.
We are praying that as the family is going through this difficult moment, that God himself will comfort them.
Maloda has left immeasurable legacies.
This is a very, very painful time for us as a non-family. And we pray for the repose of his soul.
Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has received with deep sorrow the news of the passing of a close ally, friend and associate, Malam Wada Maida, aged 70, whose stewardship and loyalty to the president and the country over many years was with great distinction. Elizabeth Omori reports.
Collins' statement, President Muhammad Buhari regrets the death of Malam Wada Maida, his former press secretary, a man who possessed one of the highest qualities of professional integrity throughout the course of his journalistic career. According to the president, Wada Maida was a very dedicated, hardworking and loyal professional to whom he has the deepest respect and admiration. The president joins Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State, members of his cabinet and the family of late Malam Wada Maida in mourning the sad loss. He called for prayers for the state and country as they accept the will of the Almighty God who determines the fate of everyone. President Buhari commiserates with staff and management of the News Agency of Nigeria, where Malam Maida served as chairman of the board until his transition, having worked there extensively as European Bureau Chief, based in London, before honoring the national call as press secretary to the head of state and returning to the agency to continue as editor-in-chief and managing director. The president also sends condolences to the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Nigerian Guild of Editors, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, International Press Institute, People's Daily Newspapers, which Malam Wada established and chaired, and Pan-African News Agency, where he played a pioneering role and remained an inspiration for many years. While sympathizing with friends and family of the former managing director of NAN, the president believes Malam Wada left a legacy of modesty, loyalty and commitment to the goals of national unity and development, which will continue to resonate with everyone who crossed his path. In Abuja,
Prominent Nigerians and organizations have started condoling with family, friends and associates of late elder statesman and media professional Maida Wada, who passed on Monday night. Abubakar Usman Akwanga in this package brings us the various messages of commiseration.
Staff Information and Culture Lai Mohammed commiserates with staff and management of the News Agency of Nigeria over the demise of one-time managing director and board chairman of the agency, Wada Maida. The minister describes him as a professional journalist and an excellent publisher who left indelible imprint in the media profession. Similarly, the International Press Institute, IPI, condoles with the media industry in Nigeria over the passing on of one of its pillars and skillful writer who used the platform to promote good governance and national cohesion. On his part, the governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, describes late Wada Maida as a veteran journalist, a fine editor, and a seasoned administrator who impacted meaningfully on humanity and rose to the pinnacle of his career. Governor Boyega Oyetola of Osun State says the demise of Wada Maida was a collective loss to the media industry and Nigeria at large, adding that he will be remembered for his humility and dedication to work. Late Malam Wada Maida started his career as a pioneer editorial staff with the News Agency of Nigeria in 1978, served as political editor, and later became the agency's London bureau chief. He was appointed managing director of NAN in 1994. Until his death, he served as chairman board of the agency. It will be recalled that late Wada Maida also served as chief press secretary to former military head of state and now President Muhammadu Buhari in 1984. He was also the chairman of the People's Media Limited and chief publisher of People's Daily Newspaper. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Join the train, speak up and act now. Together, we can end rape in Nigeria. My name is Ian Ray John, and that concludes Network News on NTA tonight. Remember that it is a collective responsibility to put an end to the spread of coronavirus. Have a good night rest.